What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So last week, I posted a video and I was talking about Lindsey Graham in South Carolina, and he's in troubles, basically what we're finding because of the latest polling. But I didn't go over the latest polling with you. So I want to show you the polling information, and then I'm going to put this in our AI model, and we'll see if AI can give us a prediction of who is going to win in 2026 in the midterm election. Before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I have a political science degree. I've worked in political campaigns for over 15 years. And in this video, we're going to focus on real data, real trends, and what it tells us about the 2026 midterm election. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and sharing with your family and friends. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Here we go. Okay, so here is the latest data. This is the latest poll from, and this is in South Carolina, and it's public policy polling. Now, I'm going to show you guys some bar graphs, so we don't have to look at this, but I do want to take a look at the sample size, just so you guys get an idea of who they were polling and how many. So PPP interviewed 704 South Carolina voters. Now, it just says South Carolina voters, so we don't know if these are likely voters or if these are registered voters, but anytime it just says voters, I'm going to assume that it's registered voters. And this was conducted on between November 21st and 22nd of 2025. The margin of error there is 3.7. And then you have 52% of interviews were conducted by text and 48 by phone. And so we've learned something already. They sent a lot of text messages out. I don't know if you guys respond to text messages, but I generally don't. Maybe the younger population will respond to text messages a little more often, but I don't. By phone, I don't even answer the phone when it comes to that. I generally, when they start asking me questions about surveys, I don't partake in the survey. So this is going to be a select group of people. We already know it's only 704, probably registered voters, as well as they're sending out text messages and people are responding to that. I guess this is the new world now, so it's not just going to be phone calls, and you used to call people on their landlines. Now they're calling people on cell phones. Now they're sending out text messages. So it's a different world when it comes to polling, and pollsters, they have to keep up with technology. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back here, and I want to show you what I really want to focus on. I want to focus on 3 bar graphs, and then we're going to take a look at this AI model. Okay, so the first poll here is talking about voter sentiment. Voter sentiment on Lindsey Graham. It says re-elect Lindsey Graham. You have 29% of the people who were polled say they want Lindsey Graham to be reelected. 29%. That's not a high number. And then time for someone new, 60%. 60% of the people polled here, these 704 people, these 704 voters, said that they want someone new. That is a shocker there. And that should have Lindsey Graham and his campaign, that should have them nervous, because you have people in South Carolina saying, you know what, we need someone new. We don't want Lindsey Graham anymore. Okay, and then we have this poll here, and this is South Carolina Senate. Graham versus Annie Andrews. So Dr. Andrews, this is a person who is most likely going to be the Democratic candidate. She will probably win the primary. At least she's the front runner to win the primary right now. And so when you ask the question between the two of them, undecideds, we have 22%. Dr. Andrews gets 36%. And Lindsey Graham gets 42%. So Lindsey Graham is winning here by 6 points. However, this is something that Lindsey Graham's campaign should also be nervous about. You have 22% of the people who were polled here, they're undecided. And what that means is everyone knows who Lindsey Graham is. He's been there for a very long time. He's been a senator for a very long time in South Carolina. So they know who he is, but they're still undecided. And they're undecided for a reason. They might not like Dr. Andrews, but they're undecided. They might not even show up to vote, or they might show up to vote and vote for Dr. Andrews or vote for the generic Democrat. And so this should have Lindsey Graham really concerned. This undecided number here, 22%, that's a large percentage of people that are undecided at this point. A lot of those people are probably waiting. They see the economy is not doing well. They see that grocery prices are still high. Inflation is still a problem. And they're waiting until closer to the election to decide if they should vote for Lindsey Graham. And if things are about the same, things are the way that they are right now, they're either not going to show up to vote or they're going to vote against Lindsey Graham. So this should have Lindsey Graham very, very nervous. Okay, looking at this last bar graph here, it says South Carolina Senate, Graham versus generic Democrat. Okay, now this is what got a lot of the news. And so undecided here, 20%. Generic Democrat, 39%. Lindsey Graham, 41%. So here again, we have undecided at 20%, so 22% in the last poll, 20% in this poll. This should have Lindsey Graham nervous as well. Why? Because a generic Democrat, just any Democrat is basically what they're saying, would get roughly 39%, and then Lindsey Graham would get 41%. That is 2 percentage points. That is a toss-up. And remember, the margin of error was what, 3.7%? And so this is within the margin of error. And so any Democrat running against Lindsey Graham has a chance to win, a very good chance, a toss-up, a 50-50. And that's what this polling is showing us here. And so like I said in that last video, Lindsey Graham has a problem. He has a problem on his hands when it comes to South Carolina. South Carolina, you think, okay, it's a red state. It's going to go ahead and vote for Lindsey Graham. But Lindsey Graham isn't looking good right now, according to this latest polling. Now, when we look at our AI model, the news gets a little bit better for Lindsey Graham. And I'll show you why. And so basically, let me give you a quick summary of what's going on here. So you have 5 different categories here, and all of these categories are weighted differently. Okay, so you have polling there, that's 35%. You have state partisanship, 25%. Incumbency, 15%. Money in organization, 15%. And then you have national environment, 10%. And then you get the numbers. And so basically what AI is doing is it's taking all this information, it's putting it in a formula, and then it's spitting out a number. And when it spits out that number, it's giving us a percentage. And it's giving us a win probability. And win probability, I'll explain that when we get down to that part. But this is giving us an idea of who could win in the 2026 midterm election. Okay, now the reason why it's getting better for Lindsey Graham is because when you start looking at some of this information here, and so looking at polling there, 35%, we were looking at the PPP polling. Now Graham had a lead, so it was 42 to Andrews, 36, and then you have the undecided at 22. So this will change. Later polls will come out and this number will change, but you see the formula that we're using is weighing polling at the highest, 35%. Okay, and then moving down, state partisanship, 25%. Now this is going to lean for who? Lindsey Graham, right? Because it's a Republican state. Now it went, and basically South Carolina is strongly Republican state. It says Trump plus 12 in 2024, and the model baseline, Republican plus 10, Republican plus 12. So Republicans have a huge advantage in South Carolina already. Incumbency, okay, Lindsey Graham is an incumbent. He's been in office for a very long time, and so he has that benefit. So that 15%, if you put that in this formula, it's going to give Lindsey Graham the advantage over Dr. Andrews. Dr. Andrews, first-time statewide candidate with no prior elected office, okay, so that's going to hurt her. Money and organization, okay, Lindsey Graham's been doing this for a long time, so he gets a benefit there as well because he already has the networks, the fundraising networks set up. Okay, so it'll be easier for him to raise money than it will be for a generic Democrat or even Dr. Andrews. Okay, national environment. So Real Clear Politics generic ballot right now is plus 3.7. That will change. We just saw a latest poll that just came out, Atlas Intel, that really is going to skew this because it was like plus 16 or something like that. And I'll do a video on that in the future. But that is going to skew these numbers. So this 3.7 is going to go up higher. We're just waiting for Real Clear Politics to do that average. And so right now, generic ballot at 3.7, and that's for Democrats. So that will actually help Andrews or help the generic Democrat. Okay, now looking at all the information that we have here, Democrats, Andrews has 0.01. Republican, Graham has 0.09. The difference is minus 0.08. So here's the probability. This is win probability, okay? And so with win probability, this is not the point spread, okay? What we're looking at here is we're looking at the probability of this happening, of this person winning. So there's a difference here. A lot of times you'll see polling, and the polling will show, okay, this is the point margin. So Lindsey Graham will win by 10 points. So Lindsey Graham has 55, and Dr. Andrews or the generic Democrat has 45. That's that 10-point spread. In this situation, that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at win probability. So out of 100 flips of a coin, how many times will Lindsey Graham win over the other candidate? Okay, so it's a little bit different. So let me just show you here. So when you're looking at this and you're looking at 64%, in a normal situation where if you're looking at a spread, 64 to 36, that's a huge spread. And so that would almost guarantee that Lindsey Graham would win. But when you're looking at win probability, all this is saying is out of 100 flips of a coin, 64 of those flips would go to Lindsey Graham and 36 would go to Dr. Andrews. Okay, that's what this is saying. And a better way to look at this is, let's say it was 55 to 45. If it was 55 to 45, now we're looking at something that's closer. It could almost be considered a toss-up if you're looking at that, because out of 100 flips of the coin, Lindsey Graham will win 55, Dr. Andrews would win 45. And so the closer that you can get to 50, that shows that it's a toss-up. It's an even race. And so that's what we're going to have to pay attention to see if that number changes. And as I stated, with the latest information coming out of Real Clear Politics when it comes to generic ballot, we are going to see a shift. We're going to see a shift to the generic ballot, and that is going to move these numbers a little bit. So we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about it once that happens. But right now, in the latest polling, Lindsey Graham has some things to be nervous about. And there's no guarantee that he is going to win in 2026. And again, when it comes to President Trump, will President Trump hurt these candidates? You have Lindsey Graham, who's been a strong supporter of President Trump all along. Will this hurt Lindsey Graham in the 2026 midterm elections? If our economy's not doing well, that's definitely going to hurt him. And if we have a lot of undecided voters that are upset with President Trump, will they go out and vote for the other candidate and not vote for Lindsey Graham? That is what we don't know. And so we should be paying close attention to that. Now, I want to show you one more thing here. And this is another reason why Republicans should be nervous when we're looking at the Senate map. Okay, this is a Senate map. These are all the states that you'll have senators running for re-election or candidates running in these states to try to win in the Senate. And so right now we have about 4 toss-up states. South Carolina isn't one of them. However, if we continue to see information coming out, these polls coming out, showing that Lindsey Graham is really struggling and really hurting, then we could see this as a toss-up. And the reason why this matters is if we put this as a toss-up and we look at the information here, look at the top here, we have 5 toss-ups. So we're including Maine, Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, and let's put South Carolina as a toss-up, okay? It's not there yet, but it could be in the future if we continue to see Lindsey Graham neck and neck on a generic, Democratic ballot. So if we see that, then at some point we could safely put South Carolina as a toss-up. It's not there yet. Okay, let me repeat. It's not there yet, but we could see that in the future if we continue to see the momentum going towards Democrats. And that's what we're seeing right now. Just looking at the overall generic ballot, it's showing Democrats are ahead. It's been showing Democrats are ahead pretty much all year. Okay, so if we're looking at the numbers here, we have 5 toss-ups. We have Democrats at 45. We have Republicans at 50. Now, Republicans at 50, they still maintain control of the Senate. Okay, so they're not going to lose anything even if they only have 50. So if we have 50-50, so you have Democrats, independents at 50, and Republicans at 50, Republicans will still maintain control. And let me show you what that would look like. So let's say you have Democrats. Let's say Democrats win in Michigan. Let's say Democrats win in Maine, North Carolina, Georgia, and they squeak out a win in South Carolina. Now we're looking at Democrats at 50, Republicans at 50. Guess what? The vice president comes in and breaks the tie, so Republicans still have control of the Senate. And so what we would need to see is we would need to see all of those states that we just went over, plus Democrats would need to win one more state. And I think their best opportunity right now, and this is just based on the information that we have today, this will change tomorrow, this can change in a month, okay? So what we know right now, their best chance to pick up another seat would be probably in Ohio. Okay, Ohio, that race, looking at the polling, it's pretty close. And in some polls, you're seeing Sherrod Brown, who's a Democrat, winning. Okay, so right now you have a Republican, Republican state, you can call it a red state, but you have Sherrod Brown, who's won in Ohio before. He did lose in 2024, but he's won in Ohio before. He's doing pretty good right now in the polling. And if our economy continues to be unstable, he will have an advantage and he could win in Ohio. So we would have to see that. And so looking at Ohio, if you see Sherrod Brown pull it out in Ohio, now you have Democrats at 51, Democrats and independents at 51, and you have Republicans at 49. Democrats would take back control of the Senate. And so that's what we would need to see. And so this is going to be very hard for Democrats because they're going to have to pretty much run the table, because we already looked at, so if we're looking at a situation right now where you have all the toss-ups go to Democrats. Let's say they win Michigan, they win Maine, they win North Carolina, they win Georgia. They still need to win 2 more states. And that's what's making it really hard for Democrats. It's possible, and we start looking at some of these different races, we could see something, we could even see a Texas flip. Okay, you have 2 popular candidates in Texas, Democrats, that will be running against each other, but then be running against Cornyn or Paxton. And so a lot of people have their eyes on Texas. It doesn't mean that Texas is going blue, but it does mean that people are going to be focused on that. And one more thing that I want to mention when it comes to the Republican, the National Party, if they have to start putting money into some of these different states that they didn't normally have to put money in or put a lot of money into, like Texas, like South Carolina, like Ohio, like Maine. And so if they have to put more money into these different states, that right there shows you that they know that there's a problem. And so that's something that we also should be focused on. How much money are they going to be spending? How much money are they planning to spend in some of these different states? So I want to know what you guys think about all this. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.